Hello, this video is if you need help with assignment 2.1, graphing in vertex form. So we're talking about how we can graph these parabolas of the form y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And the first thing that this assignment is asking you to do is write down the vertex. So remember that the vertex is always going to be the point h, comma, k. So in this example, I need to figure out what's h and what's k. Well, I see this plus 2 here, and that's on the inside with my x, so that's going to be h, but we have to remember that here I've written x minus h, but up here I have plus 2, so I actually need to switch that around. So my h is going to be minus 2. I also see this plus 2 on the outside here, so that's going to be my k, and k just does what it looks like. So my vertex here is the point minus 2 plus 2. So that's the first part. That's my vertex. The homework is also asking us to figure out the axis of symmetry. So remember, that is the vertical line that is going to divide our parabola down the middle. And the axis of symmetry, alright, AOH, is always some line x equals, and then it's going to be x equals h. So here, x equals negative 2 is the axis of symmetry. So let's see what that looks like on our graph. That's this red vertical line that just goes right up and down at x equals 2. Now, to actually graph this thing, we're going to want to plug in some points. So here is our technique for doing that. First, let's graph the vertex. So I'm going to go to when x is negative 2 and y is positive 2. So I'll put this point right here. Now, I want to plug in 2 more points on one side of the axis of symmetry, and then I'm going to use the symmetry to figure out the points on the other side. So if I make a table of x and y values, let's go 1 to the right of negative 2. So when x is negative 1, I'm going to plug that into my function. So that's going to be negative 1 plus 2 squared plus 2, which equals 1 squared plus 2, come on touchscreen, which is 3. So when x is negative 1, y is 3. So let's put that point on the parabola. I'm going to do one more point on the right side of the axis of symmetry, and then I can just use the fact that it's symmetrical to put in the point on the other side. So when x is 0, I have y is 0 plus 2 squared plus 2 is going to be 2 squared plus 2 is 4 plus 2 is 6. So when x is 0, y is 6. So let's put that point on my graph. So now I have 2 points on that side of the parabola, and I don't need to plug in 2 points on the other side because I can use the axis of symmetry. So you see how negative 1 is 1 point to the right of my axis of symmetry. So if I go 1 point to the left when x is negative 3, I know my y point is just going to match up there. So y will also be 3 there. On 2 points to the left of my axis of symmetry, when x is negative 4, well, I know that that is going to match up with this point right here. So now I can fill in the rest of my parabola here, and it's going to go up like this. So let's do another example now. Here is number 2 on your homework. So again, I want to think, okay, y equals a times x minus h. Whoops. Sorry, still figuring out how exactly this touchscreen works. Squared plus k. So let's find the vertex here. Vertex is going to equal hk. And what's h and k in this situation? Well, I see this minus 3 here, and that matches up with this minus h, so h is 3. I see this minus 1 and this plus k. So remember, k just does what it looks like. So when I see minus 1 here, k is going to be minus 1. So my vertex is going to be the point 3, comma, negative 1. So that's right here on my graph. Now let's figure out the axis of symmetry. That's going to be the vertical line at x equals h, which is, in this case, 3. And notice how the axis of symmetry and the vertex always line up on the same x point. So this red line here is going to divide my parabola down the middle. And now I just need to plug in a couple more points on either side of the axis of symmetry and use that to figure out what my graph looks like. So let's make a table here. When x is, now let's do some points on the left side of the axis of symmetry this time. I could go to either side, it doesn't matter, you get to pick. Remember, when you're graphing, you choose the x points that you want to plug in, but then once you've chosen those x points, you need to calculate the y according to what you chose for x. So if I go 1 to the left, and I do x is 2, then y is going to be 2 minus 3 squared minus 1, which is going to be negative 1 squared minus 1. And remember, when you square a negative number, it always becomes positive because a negative times another negative is positive. So this is going to be 1 minus 1 equals 0. So let's put that point on the graph. When x is 2, y is 0. And let's plug in one more. How about when x is 1? So now I've gone 2 to the left of my vertex. When x is 1, I get 1 minus 3 squared minus 1 is negative 2 squared minus 1. This is going to be positive 4 minus 1 is going to be 3. So when x is 1, y is 3, and let's put that point on the graph. Now I'm almost done, because I know this is symmetrical, right? So the points on the left of the axis of symmetry should match up with the points on the right. So if I go 1 to the right, and now I'm at 4, it's just going to be on that same y coordinate there, y is 0. If I go 2 to the right, when x is 5, I'm going to have that same y coordinate, y equals 3, and now I sketch in the rest of my parabola.